Recently I did a video on how to learn your first 5 chords on the guitar, and in that video we learnt the chords in a sequence, and the sequence goes E minor, E, A minor, C and then G. And the purpose of learning it in a sequence like that is it's much easier to remember one thing, one sequence, than it is to remember 5 unrelated chords. And all of those chords are pretty close together. You just have to move 1 or 2 fingers to be able to get the next chord. So today we're pretty much going to be doing the same thing, except we're going to be using 4 chords this time and creating a sequence out of that. And once you combine these 4 chords with the 5 chords from the other video, you'll end up with all of the major and minor chords in the open position. So if you haven't checked out the other video or you don't know how to play those chords, check that out up here. Otherwise, let's get into it. Right, we're going to start with one of the chords we did in the first video, and that's going to be A minor. A minor, as you remember, is like this. First finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and 3rd finger underneath on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Starting from the 5th string, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's A minor. To get A major, all you have to do is get the note in front of where the 1st finger was on the 2nd string. But in order to do that, you need to not just move one finger, you have to move all of your fingers. So A minor is like this, and then A, you have to flip your hand and go 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger, and you play 5 strings. Now the problem with this chord is that it pushes you really far back from the frets, and you really want to be close to the frets. So there are some solutions to be able to play it. You can either play it like that, which is the way I learnt it when I first started playing, so 1, 2, 3 like that, or you could put your 2nd finger where the 1st one was, like this, and then try to tuck that 1st finger underneath. So now the configuration is 2nd finger on the 4th string, 1st finger on the 3rd string, and 3rd finger on the 2nd string. So now these 2 fingers, the 2nd and 3rd, are close to the fret, but the 1st one isn't so close to the fret. So here's one more way that you could do. You could do a bar, so that means to play 2 strings with your 1st finger. So you kind of flatten it out like this, and now you're playing the 4th string and the 3rd string together. And then this string should sound a bit dead. So you can put your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. So just to go over those 3 methods again, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, and then 1, flatten it out, 1, 2, if that makes sense. This last way I think gets you the closest to the frets. The next chord we're going to do is a D chord. So the 1st finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, the 2nd finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and then this 3rd finger here reaches over onto the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and you play 4 strings. So that means 4, 3, 2, and 1. The tricky thing about the D chord, it's alright with these first 2 fingers, but as soon as you put your 3rd finger on this 3rd fret here, it's really difficult to have it bent enough so it doesn't touch the 1st string here. I'll show you from this angle, if you can see that. A lot of people, their 3rd finger tends to touch that 1st string. So what you need to do is sort of move your arm and your hand a bit, and your thumb particularly, and try and get everything nice and bent and make sure you're playing on the fingertips. Also remember to use the thumb or a pick and just play each note one at a time. Let's put it with the other 2 chords. This is going to be a 5-chord sequence, by the way, but one of the chords is from the other video. So we start with the A minor. We go to our A chord, whichever way is comfortable for you. I'm going to use the bar way, so first finger plays 2 strings, second finger plays one of them. Then we go to the D chord. So we move our fingers down, first finger goes there, second finger goes there, and now we put that third finger up. Okay, moving on to the next chord, we've got D minor. D minor, the same thing with A minor and A. You have to move all of your fingers even though it's only 1 fret difference. So in this case, these 2 notes stay the same, but the fingers have to change. And this note here on the first string has to move back to the first fret there. We're going to put our second finger on the second fret of the third string like this. First finger on the first fret of the first string like this. Fourth finger here. A lot of people try to use their third finger, but if you look at the way these fingers kind of sit, it looks much more natural this way. And if you use the third finger, it's quite a stretch between the second and third finger. The reason people don't use their fourth finger is because they haven't trained it enough, and it's the weakest finger anyway, so you have to learn how to use it. If you look at that, you can see how bent that fourth finger is. Once you get to use that fourth finger, you'll find it really invaluable. Alright, now we're going to go from D to D minor. So the first finger goes back to where it was on the third string, the second finger goes on the first string, and the third finger goes on the second string. And then this second finger comes up. It's always good to see where each finger goes to the next chord. So the second finger comes up to where the first finger is and swaps with that. Then the first finger goes on the first fret of the first string, and the fourth finger goes on the third fret of the second string. Make sure they all ring clearly. Okay, let's go back to the A minor and A chords. And then A. Then back to A minor. Back to A. Then from A to D. And then finally again D to D minor. We've got one more chord, and it's the nastiest chord out of the lot of them. It's the F chord. So it's easy to get most of it, but there's one little thing that makes it difficult. First finger on the first fret of the second string, second finger on the second fret of the third string, and third finger on the third fret of the fourth string. Let's just play this for now. This is actually F major 7. 4 strings. So it's not so bad, right? The hard thing is getting the first finger to do a bar on the first fret of the second string and the first string. You can see it's bent here. Now I have to get it to go flat and do a bar like that. So that's not so bad on its own, but if you try to get those other fingers on, if you start with the bar, it's really going to wreck the chord. So here's what you need to do. Start with the third finger on the third fret of the fourth string. Make sure your finger is nice and bent, then slightly stretch back without disturbing where that other finger is, and put your second finger on the second fret there. Okay, now don't do a bar here. Just put your first finger on the first fret, making sure everything's nice and bent. Slide the thumb this way along the fretboard. So I'll show you that from this angle. The thumb goes along like this. So instead of being back here, you want to be somewhere here. Make sure it's not too high. That's going to affect the bar as well. So keep it nice and low. maybe not all the way down here, but somewhere in the middle. You might notice as you slide the thumb up the fretboard that this finger starts to lay down a little bit, and that's kind of what you want. From the front, it probably looks like the finger is like dead straight, but it's actually kind of rolled onto the side like this. So I'll put those two fingers back on. Thumb goes this way, and if you can see that, what happens? Also notice that the elbow kind of swings in as well. And that's going to lift those fingers out of the way so that they're nice and bent while the first finger lays down. So just make sure that first finger isn't too rigid on that fret. You can even take it off the guitar slightly and just let it touch the strings, don't push down. Get everything into place. Thumb this way, elbow in a little bit, and then just start to squeeze with the thumb and the first finger. If you don't get this chord straight away, it's perfectly normal. I don't think I've met anyone who's just nailed it straight away. So if you can get 3 of the notes to work, consider that to be a win. The first string is the hardest one to get, so you might get something like this. And just let it push a little bit, but don't expect to get it on the first try. Let's go through the whole sequence now. A minor, A, D, everything moves down, D minor, swap those fingers, F, third finger goes on, fourth finger goes off, first finger there, thumb across the neck, let that lie down like that, and then alright, that's it for this week. I hope you found this lesson helpful. In the next few episodes on chords coming up, we're going to be getting into some bar chords and then into some other movable chords that we can move all over the neck. So learn these ones really well, and that will really help you with those. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you next week.